Minnesota Vikings got a weapon in free agency, but it's not the one you expect. How did they come to that conclusion? We'll talk about that now. The Minnesota Vikings did a fantastic job in free agency, and one of the biggest things that they did was fortify the defense. Now, we could talk about the offensive line, and we have talked about additions of Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, but it was the additions on defense that I think will make the biggest impact. Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave on the defensive line, Byron Murphy Jr. staying at cornerback on the outside, but it's his counterpart that's projected to start the year at outside corner in Isaiah Rodgers that is getting the most attention here today. One of the reasons why he's getting the most attention is because Kevin O'Connell shined a light on him at the NFL owners meetings breakfast, where coaches talk either on Monday or Tuesday, and Tuesday was the NFC's turn, and O'Connell spoke to reporters, and he talked very, very highly about Brian Flores and the addition. Quote, Isaiah was a guy that Brian Flores, identified pretty early. I've been doing this long enough with Flo, but once he has that tone in his voice about guys, he's been pretty damn accurate, end quote. And that speaks volumes about Brian Flores and his ability as an Italian evaluator and a coach. We know how successful he's been with some of the guys he's added. Just look at last year's free agency class. Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman. This year, they added a bunch of more guys. And Isaiah Rodgers kind of fits the prototype that they like at corner. Like Mekhi Blackman was the same way. Byron Murphy's the same way. Shorter, smaller, feisty, great in coverage, the ability to trigger downhill, not afraid to get down and dirty and tackle, and can make plays in the open field and on screen passes. These are the kind of guys that he wants because with how they've been utilizing their zone concepts, it's the ability to read, react, and trigger downhill that's the most impactful. Plus, if you can't tackle, you can't play in this defense. It's very aggressive, which means you have to be able to do your job. You have to be able to tackle. And Ed Donatell's defense, when he ran a version of the Vic Fangio, it's okay if you're not the best tackler. Why? It's a gang tackling philosophy. And you're able to kind of utilize some of that, where if you miss, there's going to be a guy that's going to be able to clean up your mess. That's not the way that this system works, especially because they rush 5 or more pass rushers more than anybody in the National Football League. Could Rodgers be that next guy? It feels like a Josh Metellus type process, right? Where you have a guy who really hasn't been a full-time guy, hasn't been a true starter, and he's able to elevate long term. And he's able to do more than you think, and you get him at a discount. 2 years, max value of $15 million. But let's be real, it's a 2-year, $11 million deal, and it's very, very nice on the salary cap. If Rodgers elevates to the way that Brian Flores believes he will, this could be a humongous deal for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm Tyler Forness with A to Z Sports. Skol Vikings.